One of the most exciting things about the Alumni Network is finding out what everyone has been up to since they worked at PwC, and I'm super excited to be interviewing a bunch of really interesting former colleagues to find out what they've been up to since they left the firm. This is your PwC Alumni Network with me, Andy Woodfield. Today I'm going to be talking to Ian Hockley. Ian worked for us between 1991 and 1996. Ian was part of our audit team in Norwich and went on to move to the USA. In December 2012, his youngest son was unfortunately killed. 3 months after this tragedy, Ian launched a non-profit called Dylan's Wings of Change. As part of this, the Wingman program was established to inspire kids to lift each other up, to be each other's wingman. This year, the program has been made available online to allow a global reach and is also being used for businesses. And we're going to hear some of that today. I'm delighted to be joined by Ian today. Ian, welcome. Tell me a bit about what you do these days, having moved on from PwC some years ago.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. It's great to be here today. Certainly had a number of roles since leaving PwC, but we moved to the United States from England in 2011, and we moved to the beautiful village of Sandy Hook in Connecticut. But in December 2012, my youngest son, Dylan, was killed in a mass shooting at his elementary school that claimed 26 children and adults in total. So we founded Dylan's Wings of Change, and that's a non-profit organization dedicated to his memory. And we created a program which we call Wingman, which it leverages experiential learning techniques, which is a great way of engaging people in activities that get them connecting and learning about each other. And we use this programming in many different ways. We use it in schools. It's social and emotional learning for kids. We use it in sports. We use it for team bonding and trust building to help teams perform. And we also use it in the corporate world for professional development and again, helping work teams bond and become more efficient and effective. So a super flexible program that we've been running about 5 years now.
Wow, it's amazing. I'm guessing that, that the whole experience you've had is, challenging beyond what I can possibly understand. But I'm thinking that actually what you've learned and what you're doing with the organization has probably had a profoundly useful effect on the year we've had. And I wondered if you could reflect on, what you've learned prior to this year, but also how that might have helped you and the organization in sort of surviving this really bizarre year that we've had.
Yeah, Wingman itself was pre-COVID a very tactile, in-person engaging program. That was how it was most effective. So COVID shut down, on-site programming and pushed us into this virtual world. So we had to learn to pivot and get those same outcomes we were looking for when we were in person, and try and get those same outcomes using different techniques and the virtual world. And these new platforms have given us that opportunity. Like within Zoom, I can create many breakout rooms and put people in small conversations rather than have 20 people on screen at once and have a discussion and share and maybe come back to the main group. So we can be effective in this new world. And, which is interesting that this pandemic has forced people into isolation and quarantine and loneliness. So it's exacerbated those problems that we were working to solve before. Those problems have doubled or trebled, and our chance to be effective is somewhat diminished. So almost like we're needed more than ever in this new world, and especially thinking about employees dealing with both their family and keeping them safe and well, and trying to keep their job and to keep going. And we hope we are, finding ways to bring solutions to that problem. So there's that aspect. And then the keeping going piece is we've tried as much as possible to be a free program so it can get as wide a spread as possible. And so we were funded through public donations. Those donations often came from race events, marathons and such like, and all those races were cancelled. So we can't get that sponsorship and donations that we would normally get. And I estimate it's cost us about $100,000 this year, which is a big hole.
Wow. So, I mean, there seem to be lots of virtual racing going on. I keep hearing people kind of running up and down the length of the country and running the virtual London Marathon as well. Have you been able to utilize some of that?
We haven't. I think because we put more effort into the programming and make sure we could do that. I'm sure much larger organizations have more people to throw at that. And I think if the pandemic were to continue, we would have to start looking at that. But I'm confident or hopeful the vaccines will put us back on that, should we say, more normal track.
Yeah, I mean, fingers crossed. I mean, today, as we record this, is the first day in the UK where vaccines are being administered, which is, gives hope, I think, for everyone. I mean, you've talked a bit about the challenges you've got today. I wonder, I'm curious to know from your time at PwC what remains with you from that experience, if anything, and what that does for you in your daily life today.
Yeah, PwC was my first employer after graduating, and I was there for 5 years. So it really instilled in me all of my work norms and ethics that I carried through my, 30-odd year career now. That dedication to the client's needs, whether at PwC it was the external client, or if I was in industry, my clients within the organization. A strong desire for quality work and working hard. And that camaraderie that I got from my training cohort, those are people I'm still in touch with today. But I think the strongest one has been integrity, something that training as a junior auditor, it is about the integrity. And I've carried that on through my roles. I've primarily been in finance and planning through the years. And you're making a lot of decisions where you often need to see both sides of things. It's not as cut and dried, maybe as in accounting, and you have flexibility. So making the right decision for the business, but also what's the right and honest thing to do. Integrity has often been described as doing the right thing when nobody's looking. And that has helped me in a number of situations through the years.
I think it's great to hear that stayed with you. And I feel like constantly feel like I've been in PwC too long. But I think we often forget that some of these foundations or building blocks of who we are and how we operate, they do stay with you, and they have a lasting impact. And it's great to hear that sense of integrity and doing the right thing was the thing that stayed with you. I mean, that's pretty cool to hear, and great for all of our. We've got 20,000 staff in the UK and 60,000 alumni. Great for folks to hear that. I mean, speaking about those alumni, I wonder if there's an ask that you might have of them.
Absolutely, and that's an incredible number of people we could reach. I think most definitely out there we'll have leaders in industry, many senior management, people who've changed careers, people who've jumped into maybe teaching, and certainly many thousands of parents. And so anyone at any level that wishes to engage with us, and I give some examples. If you're someone in an organization that wants to leverage what we do and our ability to help teams bond and perform better, bring us in for a workshop, please do. Just get in touch with us. We can describe what we do. And I'd like to think it's very different. We're not just a school-based child program. I've run workshops for superintendents and all of their principals in their school district, and we've worked on the principles of planning and the difficulties of planning and executing a strategy, all with playing with big playing cards and postcards with empathy quotes on. Empathy is a big part of what we do, and having an empathetic workforce is shown to improve productivity when people actually care about their fellow workers, and therefore also a sense of caring about the well-being and future of the company as well. So get us involved in that way. We'd love to do it. I do presentations. They used to be in person. Last year, I spoke to over 10,000 people in various forums. And my talk is about transforming tragedy into positive change and building the empathetic workforce of the future, as I mentioned. So I would love to do that. I've done it over Zoom. It's different, it's stranger, but still with the ability through these tools to connect with the people who are participating and use ways for them to give input about what I'm talking about, and that shared experience we're going through. That's what empathy is about. It's a shared experience, being able to understand each other. And then finally, come and run a race for us. We have a group of about 400 people we call Running for Dylan. Running for Dylan have run races, I guess I can say all over the world, because we've done them in England and Germany, as well as in the US and Canada. And it's what's kept the foundation going in the past, and we're going to need it in the future. So online sponsorship makes it very easy to just put on your running shoes, set up an online page, and get out there and run a marathon for us, because everyone can run a marathon, right?
I love that idea. Maybe I should get on my Peloton bike for you. I'm intrigued by the kind of human connection, the empathy, and the developing of those skills, not only kind of in the classroom for kids, but within the corporate environment. It's absolutely clear to me that when we look at the future of work, when we look at the new skills that everybody needs, not just leaders, you know, that ability to connect at a human level, that ability to have empathy, these are the kind of skills which are absolutely critical and essential for the kind of unknown world that we're heading into. So, I mean, your work sounds so relevant. It's unbelievable.
Google studied what makes an effective team. They called it Project Aristotle, and they interviewed thousands of employees. They surveyed, and the number one factor in a high-performing team was deemed psychological safety. They didn't come up with that phrase, but that was the thing. And it's the ability for the team members to express themselves, that they feel that they can fail safely, that their point of view will be taken into account. And if that's the number one factor in high-performing teams, companies should look at their professional development structure and ensure that that is being folded into their processes. You know, and that comes down to empathy.
And it sounds so wonderfully simple and logical and almost common sense, but I think we all know from all of our experiences that that's a remarkably tricky thing to deliver upon from a culture and behavior and a co-working perspective with your own organization, with clients, with partner organizations. It's you know, that's a lifelong goal to create that kind of safe space. I think people talk about safe spaces a lot, but they rarely truly exist.
This is something we have in Wingman, which is this idea of sequencing. We start with the get to know you. I don't know you, don't me, but I will start to get to know you. And we start to have shared points of references, things in common. I can build on that and start to trust you. And when you build trust, you start to build respect. And respect has to be built on that foundation. And when you have that as a group, you can start to challenge that group. And it's only really when you have both the get to know you and the trust, then when we throw the challenge activities in, the group is able to really be themselves. And that when they bring their genuine self, you get a much richer series of activities within your workshop, but you get much better outcomes. And that's why we have things we used to call icebreakers in any of our team building, but we have some very intentional and fun icebreakers as we start to build up to the really challenging activities.
That's amazing. Well, yeah, what you're doing is so relevant and so powerful. I wonder if I could just ask you to reflect on, you know, your real passions and, you know, what makes you get up in the morning and how that's driven you through your entire career.
Yeah, when I left college and I got my job at PwC, you know, it was all about work hard, play hard. Great group of people I worked with and would socialize with. And then growing up and then having a family and priorities changing, as I think it does for many people, and the children's well-being and making the right choices for them. and then moving to the United States, which we thought was definitely best for them. And then losing Dylan and realizing that I couldn't face the corporate world anymore, which often has that tension and conflict at the higher levels. And I was so adversely affected by conflict. So looking for a new output, for still that drive that I got from my career before, and then starting the foundation and the program and bringing Dylan's memory into it. His memory is so core to what we do, even though he's only 6 years old. And you could just describe him as just pure love. Dylan had autism. He struggled to communicate and express himself with words, but could often always do it through just connecting with you emotionally and trying to make you happy and trying to make you laugh. And most especially when he would get excited, he'd jump up and down and he'd flap his hands. And Necole once asked him, his mom asked him, Dylan, why do you flap? And he just said, Mummy, I'm a beautiful butterfly. And so the butterfly is like an inspiration for everything we do. It's in our logos. It is the Wingman logo. The butterfly is that symbol of fearless change. The caterpillar goes through this incredible transformation into this fragile, beautiful thing, but also of resilience, right? The butterflies from New England here, the monarchs will fly every year to Mexico. It's 2,000 miles, and they will migrate that huge distance. And more, the butterfly effect is many small changes will accumulate into a massive impact. The butterfly flaps its wings, can cause a hurricane on the other side of the world. Small changes in a school, in an organization, if everybody is intent on small change, you will get a massive impact, Andy.
Ian, it's a real privilege to spend time with you. And I know that your words and the work that you're doing and the beautiful memory of your little butterfly is going to have a profound impact on everyone that watches this. So thank you so much, really, from the bottom of my heart, for this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. And thank you to everybody that listens in. I truly appreciate it.